are coming on the air with a rare mosquito-borne virus that has officials in Massachusetts asking people to stay home and closing public parks. What you need to know about the deadly disease and how you can protect yourself. Plus, breaking news just before we came on the air, a new move tonight to reinstate the classified documents case against former President Trump. Why it's unlikely to happen before the election, though. And a new legal fight for disgraced rapper Sean Diddy Combs. Why his team says a lawsuit from an ex-employee is pure fiction. Then the CEO of Telegram under French custody now for alleged ties to child exploitation and drug trafficking. How he went from being Russia's Mark Zuckerberg to a wanted man. And the U.S. Open is in full swing today with fans flocking to New York to watch the world's top players. The fresh faces are this year trying to make a name for themselves. We're live from the courts. Hey, everyone, I'm Christine Romans in for Hallie. And tonight, a partial curfew goes into effect in Massachusetts, in a Massachusetts town, to try and keep people inside and away from mosquitoes carrying a rare but deadly disease there. The town of Plymouth, just 40 miles south of Boston, announced it is closing its public parks at 6 p.m. after an 80-year-old man was diagnosed with Eastern equine encephalitis, or Triple E. And other towns across the state at critical risk are asking people to stay inside at night starting at 6 p.m. just an hour from now until September 30th. You can catch it from a mosquito bite, and about a third of people who catch it will die. Those who do survive are often permanently disabled. Let's bring in Rahima Ellis. She is in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and tracking this all for us. Rahima, tell us about this disease, Triple E, and why these towns are just so worried.
Christine, they're worried because look at the day we have here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. This is a tourist town. It's a gorgeous park. This is where people want to be at the end of the summer. They want to be out and frolicking and about. But guess what? Mosquitoes are out here, too. And that's why folks are saying there's some cautions that people need to pay attention to. Listen to what we heard from the person who is director, the commissioner of the health services here in this area. Take a listen. How concerned should people be?
People should be very concerned. While Triple E is not a prevalent disease, it is not common, it is very serious. 30 to 70% fatality rate. Also, even those that survive, neurological disorders and many health complications can happen from Triple E.
And we've got a full screen we want to show you about what are some of those symptoms that you have to be concerned about. They can include fever, headache, vomiting, seizures, and behavioral changes, neurological disease disruptions. No vaccine or specific treatment is available, but 30% of those infected, as you mentioned, she mentioned, they could die from this. Many survivors have permanent brain damage or neurological impairment. And so this is something, as she said, it's not common, it's rare, but it's very, very serious.
Rare, but very
Christine?
seriously. And Rahima, this isn't the only mosquito-borne disease on the rise right now, right?
That's right. There's also the West Nile disease, which also comes from an infected mosquito. It's far less deadly, but it has some symptoms that people have to really be concerned about. And one of those folks who was concerned about it is the former head of the NIH, and you know his name, it's Anthony Fauci. He was hospitalized last week with West Nile virus, and he's now resting at home. And we understand a woman in Texas just recently died from it. And experts are talking about how this disease is appearing earlier and earlier this year. We want to show you a full screen about this as well, because people are associating this with climate change, because now they're saying we're seeing that this mosquito infection is happening somewhere between the increase of it between 1979 and 2022, in part because we have more humidity. And my hair is one indication of that. That's why I've got on this hat. And the temperature is going from 50 to 95 degrees. And 71% of the United States sees an annual mosquito increase, and 16 days of it. So more mosquitoes, we have more water that's been around, and mosquitoes, these particular mosquitoes, like to breed in water. So that's one of the things that they tell people is to get rid of standing water around your home. Christine?
What are some of the other ways people can protect themselves from West Nile or Triple E?
Well, one of the things you want to do is wear long sleeves, long pants. You might want to wear socks as well, because they like to bite around the ankles. In addition to that, they're saying you should use a mosquito repellent with a DEET in it. and avoid these kind of mosquitoes. Usually they are most active between the hours of dusk and dawn, but they can bite you at any time of the day. Christine?
All right. I think that the hat is smashing, even with such a serious story. Rahima, nice to see you. Thank you so much. All right, in breaking news out of Washington with an urgent plea to bring back the criminal classified documents case against former President Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith asking a federal appeals court today to reverse a lower court's decision to dismiss that case, the one charging the former president with mishandling classified documents. Now, you'll remember back in July, Judge Aileen Cannon, in a stunning move, threw the case out on grounds that the special counsel's appointment violated the U.S. Constitution. Ken Delanian has more on this one for us. Ken, this was widely seen by experts as one of the strongest cases brought against the former president. So what's Smith arguing in his appeal?
Yeah, Christine, and it's not just Smith, it's the entire Justice Department here arguing in no uncertain terms that Judge Aileen Cannon fundamentally misconstrued and misunderstood the law here, including a Supreme Court precedent and 4 separate statutes. We were looking through the ruling. They almost ran out of synonyms for wrong. They called her reasoning flawed, nonsensical. They said it lacked merit and it lacked common sense. And they're saying that it goes against decades of precedent here. No other judge has ever seen it this way, because there have been these challenges before. Essentially, she ruled that Jack Smith was unconstitutionally appointed because he wasn't confirmed by the Senate. What they're saying is that that would apply to a lot of other different kinds of officials, including acting U.S. attorneys and even officials in the Defense Department and the Treasury Department and elsewhere. It fundamentally undermines the way the government does business. It's wrong, and they're asking the 11th Circuit Court in Atlanta to overturn this ruling. But, of course, that is not going to happen before the election. So fundamentally, voters are going to decide before the courts do on this case.
Yeah. Is it surprising, Ken, that Smith didn't offer to, I guess, step down as special counsel if the case continues?
That's a fair question, but the answer is no, because for 2 reasons. One, Merrick Garland believes that this case is properly brought by a special counsel. That's why he appointed one. He doesn't think that the Justice Department under President Biden should be prosecuting his political opponent. He wanted some distance here. So they could have refiled this case easily with the U.S. Attorney in Miami. They decided not to. But secondly, there's a principle here. They're concerned about the broader implications of this ruling, which they think is bad law and needs to be squelched. So they are going through the appeals process. It may end up at the Supreme Court, but they think they're ultimately going to win. Christine.
All right, Ken, thanks so much. Former President Trump is suggesting he may back out of his first debate with Vice President Harris. It's supposed to happen only a few weeks from now on ABC. Listen.
Well, you know, I watched this weekend, and it's the worst of all networks. When I looked at the hostility of that, I said, why am I doing it? Let's do it with another network.
So there's a lot of debate around the debate rules. The Harris campaign says, they want mics on the whole time. The Trump campaign says this isn't what they agreed to. It happens as they all get ready for the final stretch to Election Day. Mr. Trump picking up another not so surprising endorsement today from former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. And as Vice President Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, get ready to kick off a bus tour of Georgia. Want to bring in NBC's Garrett Haake now. Garrett, what else do we know about Mr. Trump? Maybe not. Maybe just riffing, maybe pulling out of this debate?
My money's on riffing, Christine. Look, I mean, this is classic Trump to sort of work the refs in advance of a debate here, complaining about ABC News, which is going to host the debate, complaining about various reporters at that network, complaining about these rules changes, even though, and a bit of irony here, the idea of the mute button was originally something that the Biden campaign, when it was still the Biden campaign, had wanted to see in place. And Trump was the one who said, no, thank you, that's not the way we want to do it. We heard more of that complaining at a campaign stop in Virginia this morning, where he ultimately seemed to come around to the idea that the mics were going to do whatever the mics were going to do. Here's some of what he had to say this morning.
We agreed to the same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate.
The other great irony here, of course, is that both campaigns are saying the other is too chicken to attend. I think both see the opportunity to have the other candidate on a big stage in front of the American people as playing to their advantage, Christine, all of which makes me think this debate will go forward. It will happen on the 10th, just like it was planned, but probably not without a lot more kvetching from Donald Trump.
What can we expect to see from Vice President Harris's campaign as we enter the final sprint here?
Well, look, they're certainly going to turn it into a sprint. The Harris campaign has more money than basically any other presidential campaign has been able to raise at this point in this cycle. They continue to rake it in as they did during their convention week. And now they've got to figure out how to spend it. And some of that's going to be on traditional campaigning, like the bus tour that you were talking about in Georgia coming up later this week. Some of it's going to be on the air, and some of it's going to be perhaps in ways to put new pathways to 270 votes onto the playing field. So we could see them campaigning more out west. We could also see them try to head fake the Trump campaign and try to put another state or two in play, or at least look like they're going to make Trump play defense somewhere. When you look at the polling, though, this race has closed significantly. But in the battleground states, even where Harris is leading, it is all within the margin of error, including in this polling from New York Times and Siena that came out last week. Now, that margin could increase when we get some post-convention polls in, but this is going to be a catfight until the end. Both campaigns understand that. I expect to see the pace of campaigning go way, way up in the next couple of weeks.
And that is a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Garrett Haake, thanks so much. A city in Alaska reeling tonight from a deadly landslide local officials say is unlike anything they've ever seen, with concerns that a second one could hit the same area. Take a look at this. A phone pole knocked over onto cars, streets and homes flooded. You can see in these pictures released by officials where that landslide started. One person is dead, 3 others hurt, according to authorities. Local officials have issued a mandatory evacuation as crews try to clean up from the damaged homes and infrastructure throughout that area. Dana Griffin is following this one for us. Dana, what's the extent of the damage there tonight?
Yeah, Christine, so catch a can if you can kind of picture it. I know we've got a photo so you can see how this town is kind of set up. It is essentially 20 miles long, but only 4 blocks wide. So they describe it as a long ribbon. So you can see the area where that landslide came down. It came down and hit a roadway, wiped part of that out. That's actually where the person who was killed and another person that was injured, they were driving in a vehicle when that landslide came out and took them out. And you know, surprisingly, this was a pretty busy bypass. The mayor saying that he was surprised more people weren't hurt. And so this came very close to cutting that town in half. So this is very serious. That's why you have so many people that were evacuated. Not only did they evacuate the people that's just below that hillside, but also further south, because that area also looks very unstable. And for many people, they say this sounded almost like an earthquake. They felt the ground rumble, and then that's when that hillside gave way. And this area gets a lot of rain, but surprisingly, these sort of landslides are not very common there. Many people say they have never seen anything like this in their lifetime. Christine?
Yeah, Dana, the mayor of this city said he has never seen a landslide of this magnitude before. How is the community picking up the pieces now?
Yeah, so many people are staying with friends, family. They even have an evacuation center set up in one of the local high schools. Right now, they have state geologists in that area. They are assessing that hillside, making sure that it is safe before they allow people to go back in. But in the meantime, they are asking people to stay away. At about a quarter of the town is still currently at risk for another slide, because, again, there's another area just below where this slide happened that looks very unstable. So right now, people are just waiting to see what Mother Nature will do next. Hopefully nothing else, and that hillside becomes stable and people can hopefully go back home and clean up the debris that's left behind.
It looks like
Christine?
It's not raining right now, Dana. So has the weather cleared up at least here?
I think for now, but it seems like there could be more rain expected. So I think that's part of the concern if more rain comes down. And this area, they've actually had a pretty dry spell lately. So the fact that they got so much rain in a short period of time, it may have inundated the soil there. Yeah. And that's usually what happens. That's why you have these landslides. You know, it gets too much water too quickly, and that's how things like this can happen.
All right, Dana, thanks so much. Right now, tens of millions across the Midwest are very aware that summer isn't over yet, as a dangerous heat wave envelops that area. With heat index values of 110 and higher, major cities like Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis are in for some record highs. And as those temperatures rise this week, new data is showing that heat-related deaths in the U.S. have been climbing steadily now for years. There's been a 117% increase in heat-related deaths from 1999 to 2023, according to the medical journal JAMA, with more than 2,300 just in 2023 alone. And out in Hawaii, it's not the heat that's creating dangerous conditions. It's Tropical Storm Hone. Floodwaters rushing down roads like this one after the storm moved away from Hawaii's main islands this morning, with parts of the Big Island getting up to 25 inches of rain. Bill Caron's joining me now with the forecast. Bill, it's pretty late in the summer for these kinds of temperatures, isn't it? In the Midwest, when will people start getting some relief?
Yeah, the Midwest, Christine, has been one of those spots that hasn't had a boiling hot summer. For many of these areas, this is the hottest it's been all summer long. And a lot of schools are back in session. The fall sports season is starting again. And a lot of people are outdoors in it, too. So that's where we get dangerous. And now we're up to 61 million people, because now we've included Detroit, almost all of Ohio, Indiana. You've added the misery that your friends in Iowa and Illinois and Wisconsin are feeling with those heat warnings. That does include Chicago, by the way. Heat advisory for Kansas City and St. Louis. All right, so we like to see who the hottest is, and these are the current heat indices. This is how it feels in the shade in all of these major cities, and it's a battle right now, but Des Moines looks like you're on top. Not that you want to be. 109 degrees. Omaha feels like 108. Chicago, 106, not far behind, and even Minneapolis, 103 at this hour. So the cooler air is not far behind. It's in Montana and the Dakotas. It will slide in, but it's going to take a little bit. It's going to be a slow progress, and as the cooler air moves in, all of the hot air is going to push to the east. It'll eventually get to the East Coast by the time we get to Wednesday. So this is for tomorrow. The max forecast heat index in Chicago should feel like 110, St. Louis 108. So, yeah, almost all of these locations, 100 to about 110 for the feels like. D.C., not horrible, but you're starting to inch up tomorrow, high of 92, heat index of 94. Then by the time we get towards the middle of the week on Wednesday, that's the hottest day for the East Coast. You know, Richmond 102, Baltimore 105, New York City, not horrible, but it will be more humid, too, about 96 it'll feel like. And then as we look towards the extended forecast, we start to talk about Labor Day weekend and the getaway. Things begin to break. Areas like Cincinnati by Saturday into the mid-80s, D.C. into the mid-80s, too, Raleigh down to 90. So, Christine, it's going to be hot, and then Labor Day gets a little more comfortable. Still beach and pool weather, but more comfortable.
All right, so where's this tropical storm out in Hawaii headed now, Bill? That storm dumped so much water that the National Weather Service called off its red flag warnings there.
I mean, feel free to show that video again. That was pretty incredible with Hone, and you just saw the water just rushing. So when we talk about the Big Island right here, it has two volcanoes on it that are over 13,000 feet, and you can see them in the distance there. That wrings out the moisture, and when all of that water falls on the volcano, then it just rushes, obviously, downhill and back to the ocean, and you get these big rivers that we're seeing like this. And there was some pretty dramatic footage. The highest rainfall total I saw was 25 inches from this storm, and it wasn't even a direct hit either. It was on the outskirts of it. This morning, we had some rain from Hone in areas of Oahu and Honolulu. That has cleared out. Now it's just some clouds left over and some large waves. But as the Atlantic is eerily silent, the Pacific is very active. We have Hurricane Gilma and Tropical Storm Hector. Here's the Baja of Mexico. There's Southern California. And these are all headed in the general direction of Hawaii. So everyone's like, oh, here we go. You know, maybe it's Hawaii's year to get a bunch of storms. Gilma, though, which is now a hurricane, will weaken and then brush the island as we get towards Friday. So that kind of the getaway travel day for Labor Day weekend. And then, of course, we'll also keep our eyes on our friends up in Alaska. Ketchikan's located right here. They have cleared out. All the heavy rain is exiting.
All right, Bill Cairns, thank you so much, Bill. Attorneys for former Illinois Deputy Sean Grayson say they will fight a judge's decision to keep him behind bars while he waits to go on trial for the murder of Sonia Massey. Today, Grayson appeared virtually for his first pretrial hearing. Remember, he was charged in July after police body cam video captured the moments before he fatally shot Massey, a black mother of two. He was responding to her 911 call. Grayson has pleaded not guilty to the charges. NBC's Maggie Vespa has more.
Christine, former Illinois Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson remains behind bars ahead of his first-degree murder trial, and the start date of that trial is TBD. So right now, his defense team is trying/appealing to get him out of jail. They talked about that briefly inside the courthouse today, telling the judge they assume he's aware of their appeal to a higher court, their appeal of that decision. Then they kind of moved on to two motions that were more substantive today, with Grayson appearing via Zoom with his defense attorney. Number one, the defense filed a motion tied to media coverage of the case, so presumably wanting some kind of limits or controls on cameras in court, things like that. We'll see where that goes. Number two, they asked for more time, frankly, to review and just kind of sift through discovery in the case. The judge granted the discovery motion and continued the media motion until the next court date, which is October 21st at 9 a.m. We should note, Sonia Massey's family, the 36-year-old mother of two who was killed in her own home, caught on body camera video by Deputy Grayson back in July. Her family was sitting in that courtroom. We're talking dozens of people. They've been telling us they want to come to every single hearing, every single court date, no matter how procedural it may seem, to support Sonia. And they say speak for her. I talked to her cousin after this hearing and kind of on her own. I just said, how are you doing at this point in the process? On her own, she brought up that appeal by Grayson's team to get him out of jail. Here's what she said.
I couldn't even believe that he would even think that it was okay to even ask that. Are you serious? You want out for what? And all you had to do was just leave her door after you seen there was no problem, and you didn't. He wanted to know her name. He wanted to walk into her home. You know, why?
One other thing we talked about was the sheriff of Sangamon County, Jack Campbell, stepping down in the wake of this about a month after Sonia Massey was shot and killed. Sonia's cousin telling me that actually made her angry that it took an entire month. Christine?
All right, Maggie Vespa, thanks so much. Officials in Ukraine are assessing the damage after a massive aerial attack from Russian forces earlier today. Air raid sirens sent people running for bomb shelters this morning as Russia launched some 200 missiles and drones into Ukraine's biggest cities, killing 3 people and damaging energy infrastructure. It comes after a missile fired over the weekend hit a hotel, killing a safety advisor and injuring 2 journalists working for the Reuters news agency. It's not yet clear if the hotel was intentionally targeted. Erin McLaughlin has more.
Hey, Christine, it appears that Ukraine's air defense systems were working overtime today in the face of this large-scale Russian missile attack, one of the largest of the war. According to Ukrainian officials tonight, they managed to down 102 of 127 Russian missiles fired and 99 of 109 Russian drones. Now, nevertheless, some of those missiles, some of those drones causing damage in total, killing 4 civilians and injuring 19. Civilian energy structure was hit badly in some places. I was just speaking to a Kyiv city official, and he was telling me that one of the missiles struck a substation on the main dam in the Kyiv region, leading to rolling blackouts in the capital, rolling blackouts in other cities across the country as well. 15 regions hit in total. This attack unfolded at 8 o'clock in the morning. Our team woke up to the sounds of explosions, immediately went to the bomb shelter, as did millions of Ukrainians. Metro stations once again doubling as those bomb shelters. But what was really interesting is that soon as those air alerts were lifted, life returned to normal pretty quickly. It's just an illustration of just how much this war has become a part of everyday life here in Ukraine. Christine?
Erin McLaughlin, thanks so much, Erin. Sean Diddy Combs tonight fighting to dismiss a lawsuit that was filed against him by a former employee, saying that lawsuit is an attempt to use salacious allegations to pressure Diddy into a settlement. That lawsuit, filed in February, alleges that Combs sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who worked for Combs from September 2022 to November 2023. In a statement, a lawyer for Combs says the lawsuit is, quote, pure fiction, a shameless attempt to create media hype and extract a settlement. Chloe Malas is joining us now. Chloe, walk us through this. We know one of the complaints in today's filing is that the allegations in the Lil Rod suit are vague. What else do we know?
Hey there, Christine. Sean Diddy Combs' legal team filing this, multi-page motion to dismiss. And now this is the 5th motion to dismiss against civil cases over the last couple months. But this is significant. Lil Rod is somebody who worked with Sean Diddy Combs. He's a music producer on Combs' last album, the Love album. He's seeking $30 million in damages. And like you said, he claims that during the course of about a year when he worked, or a little bit less than a year when he worked with Combs on this album, that he was drugged, that he would wake up places where he didn't know how he got there, in bed with other people. And then in an amended complaint in March, Little Rod's legal team claiming that Sean Diddy Combs was actually part of a RICO enterprise. And you just read a statement from Combs's legal team saying that this is a salacious attempt with name dropping, and they just really go hard, denying all of the accusations again that Diddy had previously denied. And they're fighting back against this today.
And Chloe, what about this attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, who represents Little Rod? He's been on the receiving end of some criticism by a judge himself. How does that piece fit into this puzzle?
So in Combs's motion to dismiss today filed by his attorneys, they make reference to Tyrone Blackburn being criticized for other cases that he had filed, and that he was even reported to the grievance committee in New York. Now, that is something that Tyrone Blackburn has repeatedly denied to NBC News, and we have actually inquired looking into this. But basically, Combs's legal team is saying that Tyrone Blackburn, that he files all sorts of lawsuits all the time without doing his homework, and that this is salacious, and that this is basically a money grab, and that they intend to fight this. They're not going to settle. They're not going to settle this. They're not going to settle any of the other civil suits against Combs, and they're really going after Tyrone Blackburn. But again, we just spoke to him moments ago at NBC News, and he just says that all of that is just simply not true.
All right, Chloe Malas, nice to see you. Thanks so much. Coming up, the grocery store showdown between two of the biggest chains in the federal government that could change where and how you shop. But first, we're counting down to the historic space mission lifting off later tonight, sending civilians farther than any human has gone since the Apollo era. SpaceX is counting down the hours until the launch of a historic space flight featuring a crew made up entirely of private citizens. The mission, dubbed Polaris Dawn, is scheduled to lift off overnight and will include the first ever spacewalk by a commercial crew. It comes after NASA tapped SpaceX to bring home two astronauts who've been stuck in space after their 8-day Boeing mission turned into a lot more. NBC's Marissa Parra has more on both of these high-stakes missions.
Hey, Christine, a busy week in space news. I want to start first with that major announcement from NASA over the weekend about Boeing Starliner. Those two astronauts who've been stranded for several months. Well, now their week-long mission is going to be roughly 9 months. They're going to hitch a ride with SpaceX on the way down. In short, NASA saying it was not worth the risk. The risk being those thrusters. They were not certain enough and trusting enough in those thrusters that have been analyzed and looked at over the last several months. So Boeing Starliner will return without the crew. Butch and Sunny will return with the SpaceX previously scheduled mission with Crew 9. That's going to be roughly February. Now, what is happening tomorrow, also said to be historic with SpaceX? This is the Polaris Dawn mission. Now, we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to see a higher orbit than we have seen in over 50 years for these astronauts, all civilians. And we're going to see something really incredible with this spacewalk. I'll tell you a little bit more about it tomorrow, but this spacewalk essentially is going to expose all of them to the vacuum of space. Two of them will perform it, and this is going to be something that has them relying on their spacesuits essentially as a spaceship. We spoke to former shuttle commander Eileen Collins on this ambitious move, how it's also a very risky one.
When you go outside, you are exposing yourself to some small orbital debris, like little pieces of dust that go zinging around, and also the fact that they will be getting more radiation.
Now, if you are a big space nerd like me, I hope you like mornings, because right now this is scheduled for 3:38 in the morning. Now, there is an extensive launch window, so if there's any weather issues, this is not like a lot of launches we see. There is a chance it could slide, but either way, they're really hoping for tomorrow, which would mean that spacewalk would potentially happen on Thursday. So we'll be right here tomorrow to let you know how it all goes, Christine.
All right, Marissa Parra, thanks so much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, members of a bipartisan House task force visiting Butler, Pennsylvania today, getting a sense of the scene as they look into the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Lawmakers holding a press conference after walking around the area, saying they still have a lot of questions to make sure nothing like it happens again, calling the visit a critical step in the investigative process. Number 2, the captain of that super yacht that sank in a storm off Sicily last week, killed 6 people, is now under investigation. for manslaughter and for causing a shipwreck. This according to his lawyer. Prosecutors in Sicily are going to question him tomorrow. We don't know yet whether anyone else is under investigation. Number 3, today people are mourning a high school football player at a memorial service in Alabama after he was hurt in a game a couple of days ago. He later died. We don't know exactly what happened. A GoFundMe page to cover funeral costs called it a, quote, traumatic brain injury. His death putting a spotlight on the dangers of football again after other high school football players' deaths over the past few years. And number 4, Walmart's recalling apple juice sold in 25 states because of unsafe levels of arsenic. It was sold under Walmart's Great Value brand. Overexposure to that kind of arsenic can cause cancer and birth defects. A Walmart spokesperson says they're working with the supplier to investigate the source of the toxin. Number 5, the national park's getting a record high $100 million grant that the National Park Foundation is calling transformative. We don't know exactly where all the money is going to go just yet, but one of their top priorities is restoring coral reefs at Biscayne National Park in Florida. Another goal? Helping young people visit the parks. Now to a major legal showdown between some of the biggest grocery chains in the country and the FTC that could change how you shop in a big way. You have Albertsons and Kroger today in court with federal regulators out in Oregon for a trial that's expected to last about 2 weeks. The two companies want to merge in a $24.6 billion deal, the biggest grocery store merger ever. They say it's so they can better compete with big rivals like Amazon, Costco, and Walmart. But the FTC says, no, you can't do that because it would actually eliminate competition and raise the prices of groceries at a time when people are already paying a lot as it is because of inflation. 8 states plus the District of Columbia joining the lawsuit against the two grocery companies. Adrian Broaddus joining me now to walk through this. Adrian, the big question for a lot of people here is, will this make groceries more expensive? What are the experts saying about that?
Well, Christine, that is the big question. Let's start with the two chains. They're saying they're combining forces because coming together, they say, will make them more efficient and give them the ability to compete with giants like Walmart and Amazon. And competing, they say, will allow them to lower prices for the consumers. Now, by contrast, the FTC says by reducing competition at this level, prices will go up and consumer quality will go down. The expert I spoke with, Christine, just today, says the grocery industry is such a thin margin industry. Even if the retailers do merge, they're so dependent on their suppliers, the prices of the products they deliver are likely to see small changes. Christine?
Yeah, that margin is something like 1 to 3%. It is the thinnest of margins in retail. The FTC is also arguing that a merger would undermine labor unions. Why is that?
It's because if they were to merge, they're no longer competing for the best employee. Think about it. If you take a step back, when combined, these two chains have at least 700,000 employees. They are among the largest grocery chains with most union workers. And if there's less competition for these star employees, that could lead to a benefit package that isn't as lucrative or a decrease in wages. So at the end of the day, the big argument here is that it will eliminate the fierce competition, Christine.
Now, I know that the two companies have agreed to sell off 560 or so stores that they thought the government might have a problem with, too much concentration to different parts of the country. Do we know if this merger goes through, will people continue to go to their same normal grocery store? Will the names change? Will there be different ownership?
That is the big question. We have seen mergers in the past, and sometimes the name does change. What's going to happen next is that this hearing this hearing is going to take place over the next 2 weeks, and that's when the judge will step in and decide what the next steps are moving forward, because right now the government is trying to block this from happening. Christine?
Yeah, this is a very big merger, and the government is saying it shouldn't happen. The grocery store chains are saying it's good for consumers. We'll see what the judge says. Adrian, thank you so much. Coming up, this stunning, scary moment, a clubhouse fully engulfed in flames. We'll show you the video. Plus, how an MLB player is two-timing his own team and setting a new record at the same time. A tech billionaire arrested over his social media platform. We'll tell you why. But first, NBC covers hundreds of stories each day, and because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, a Colorado man making his first court appearance today after he was charged with threatening opponents of former President Donald Trump on right-wing websites. Justice Department officials say he allegedly claimed that it was, quote, time to put 2 state election officials to death, among other threats. A redacted affidavit from the FBI says the man had a long history of illegally possessing firearms. From our Midwest Bureau, a major fire breaking out at a golf course in Indiana. You can see the clubhouse fully engulfed there in flames. No word yet on if anyone was hurt, but officials don't think anyone was inside that building at the time of the fire. Multiple fire departments are investigating the cause of the incident. And out of our Northeast Bureau, a Boston Red Sox catcher is about to make history as the first Major League player to appear in the same game for both teams. Danny Jansen was playing for the Toronto Blue Jays back in June when their game versus the Red Sox was paused due to the rain. Since then, he got traded to the Red Sox and is now set to play for them tonight in Boston when the suspended game picks back up. Jansen saying, quote, anytime you can be part of this great game's history, it's pretty unique. All right, we're getting new details today on the arrest of the billionaire founder of messaging app Telegram by authorities in France. Police say his arrest is part of a broader investigation into child pornography on the Telegram app. Russian-born Pavel Durov was put in handcuffs after stepping off a plane in Paris on Saturday, causing an uproar from people who say the arrest is politically motivated, like Elon Musk, Edward Snowden, and media in Russia, where the app is hugely popular. Let's bring in David Ingram, who's been following all of this for us. And David, Telegram has come under fire for use by criminals, for use by extremists, its role in major conflicts and political events. What makes Telegram different from, say, WhatsApp, and why does that matter in this case?
Well, there are a few things that set Telegram apart from better-known apps in the U.S. like WhatsApp. One is the ability to have very large channels where potentially hundreds of thousands of people can interact with the same content. You don't find that on WhatsApp. You can find it maybe on Facebook or some other apps. The other big difference with Telegram is its relationship with law enforcement, and that's what relates to the news today of the arrest of the CEO. So Telegram, unlike WhatsApp, for example, does not have a firm working relationship with law enforcement, even on some of the worst crimes that we generally think of, including child sexual abuse of minors. And there have been statements today from nonprofit organizations and others saying that they have tried to work with Telegram to stop the spread, for example, of child abuse material. And Telegram has largely ignored their responses. So I think what we're looking at here, and the word that pops out from the statement from French prosecutors, is the word they used was complicity, that they think that the platform here was potentially complicit in a whole series of online activities, including the spread of child sexual abuse material, and didn't really do much to stop it or to respond to law enforcement requests.
So, sounds straightforward. Why would some people be calling this arrest some kind of a political move?
Well, so some of the sort of light touch moderation, the sort of allow users to do whatever they want, that same policy that attracts potential criminals and others also does attract people whose views are so extreme that they've been kicked off other platforms, including Instagram or X or YouTube, for example. So those people have flocked to Telegram, and they see it as a valuable free speech platform. It's also closely aligned with Russia, very popular in Russia, and people who sympathize with the Russian government find it to be a welcoming place to talk about their views. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron today addressed some of these accusations. He posted on X saying that this is part of an ongoing judicial investigation trying to tamp down some of the criticism. So, Christine, we'll see how this plays out and what the French prosecutors want to do with the CEO.
Yeah, I'm sure we haven't heard the last of this. David Ingram, thank you so much. Coming up in tonight's original, our exclusive interview with the CEO behind Ozempic and Wegovy, why he says prices are so high. To tonight's original now, with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, it's about the popular weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy. Our Megan Fitzgerald sits down exclusively with the CEO of Novo Nordisk, the company that makes both of those, and asks about the sky-high cost of the drugs and limited supply.
Just an hour away from the bustling bike lanes of Copenhagen sits a factory so big you need a car to get around. Blockbuster weight loss drug Wegovy and diabetes drug Ozempic produced here by Danish pharmaceutical giant Novo Nordisk. A state-of-the-art facility churning out these pens while robots shuffle them to the next phase of the process. The facility is one of a few producing the medicines worldwide.
Because the popularity of these drugs have exploded, Novo Nordisk has increased production, making millions of pens in facilities like this one that are operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
But that's still not enough. Across the world, and even in the U.S., warnings that doses of Wegovy are in limited supply.
We have, to some degree, been overwhelmed by demand. I guess there can be
It's a problem CEO Lars Fjørgaard Jorgensen says they're tackling.
We are investing significantly in ramping up capacity. We have just recently announced more than $4 billion investment in North Carolina to do fill finish of these exact products. So we see a constant ramp up of manufacturing. But it's also fair to say that we are still in the beginning.
Jorgensen spoke to us in Novo Nordisk Copenhagen headquarters before the company's quiet period ahead of their last earnings.
How do you describe what your company is producing?
I think this is a really exciting moment in the company's history because we have spent around 30 years in doing research and development. We now see a very strong set of clinical data that we are helping people living with type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and potential number of comorbidities.
But while Wegovy has reshaped weight loss worldwide, it comes at a cost, and one many Americans can't afford.
The list price for Wegovy in the United States, $1,349. In the UK, it's $92. In Germany, it's $140. Why is Novo Nordisk price discriminating between markets?
In markets where there's reimbursement, patients pay nothing or very small co-payments. We work a lot with insurance companies, payers in getting reimbursement, but it's much different from country to country how that system works. But I do acknowledge that some patients have poor insurance. And if you have poor insurance, it can be difficult to afford the medicines.
Novo Nordisk says while the list price for Wegovy in the U.S. is higher and that half of commercial insurance providers cover Wegovy, the vast majority of those insurance customers pay less than $25 a dose. But Medicare is prohibited from covering the drug for obesity because it's considered a lifestyle medication, and other providers say they can't afford to cover it.
The treasurer of North Carolina went as far as to accuse Novo Nordisk of operating like a drug cartel. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I think that's unfounded. And I would actually say, I think we need a discussion around what's the value of these medicines. And if you look at just the cost of obesity in the U.S., it's a disease that costs Americans more than $400 billion a year. And we are actually providing products that's actually helping taking that cost burden off.
For those who have used it, the drugs have been life-changing. What's unclear at this early stage is how effective it will be long-term, with many regaining weight once they stop the drug.
We're talking about millions of patients, and we'll learn that there'll probably be different grouping of patients. Some will have obesity that takes really efficacious treatment for life because it's, say, an aggressive form of obesity. But you'll also probably find that there are patients who, after a period of treatment, change in lifestyle, can actually do without medicine.
The treatment requiring weekly shots can be cumbersome. The next hurdle, creating a pill.
So we already have the diabetes indication in a pill form. So there might one day be also in obesity, say, pill form versions of this. So that's truly exciting.
And they're testing the drugs to see if they help with Alzheimer's and kidney disease.
We think that this is the start of another really exciting period with great science coming to patients.
A company and a drug that's changing the shape of medicine.
Megan Fitzgerald joins me now. Megan, the Novo Nordisk CEO is scheduled to testify in a Senate committee hearing next month about the high U.S. prices. Did he give you any insight into what he'll say?
Well, Christine, it's a good question. In fact, we asked that direct question to Jorgensen, and he says that he, in fact, volunteered to testify before the Senate committee. And he also says that he plans to talk about the sheer complexity. Apologies if you can hear in the background here. But he says he plans on talking about the sheer complexity of the U.S. healthcare system and how it would likely take policy to change it, and how his company, he says, is doing everything they can to try and make sure that the medication is accessible to as many people as possible.
Right, Megan Fitzgerald, thank you so much. Great reporting. Coming up, why the start of the U.S. Open may also be a start of a whole new era for tennis. We'll take you to the tournament's kickoff next. All right, an exciting day for tennis fans. The U.S. Open kicking off right here in New York City. Fresh off the Olympics, the world's top players are facing off in their final chance to snag a major title this year. Reigning champions Coco Gauff and Novak Djokovic are both looking to defend their titles and hold off some newer names. Let's get to Antonia Hilton out at the U.S. Open for us. Antonia, there's talk about this new guard taking over tennis. Who are the young bloods to watch this year?
Hey, Christine. Well, there's a number of them. On the women's side, you have Coco Gauff, of course, as you mentioned, defending her title. You have Sabalenka, Swiatek, a number of others. On the men's side, Djokovic, Sinner, Alcaraz. And, you know, Djokovic is coming out of the Olympics and has a lot of energy and excitement around him. But here's the thing that's really special about the U.S. Open. Because it comes at the end of the season, it means that a lot of players are exhausted. They have played at the Olympics. They've traveled all over the world recently, and by the time they get here, it kind of creates this unpredictable environment that makes it possible for stars to rise, for there to be breakouts and surprises. And I just got to watch Taylor Townsend play, for example. She just won her first match, and the energy in that very packed stadium was really palpable. People cheering for her, and you could just see there was so much excitement. New tennis fans in that space as well, and so that's the kind of thing people look out for here. Someone to rise to the top that nobody, frankly, expected to do it. Christine.
You know, last year's women's champ Coco Gauff hit the court today, beating her opponent, and then men's champ Novak Djokovic plays later tonight. How are they looking coming into the tournament?
So in the days leading up to all of this, there was talk around Coco Gauff because she is, you know, defending her title, but also she had a tough time at the Olympics. It was really emotional. She was not able to medal there, and she's had a little bit of a rough patch this summer more broadly at other matches. So you could feel in Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is right behind me here, that as she played this afternoon, our team got to watch. There were nerves. People were a little worried about how she would do, but then she played really well and, of course, won. And so, you know, she has made clear that she's here to, you know, fight for her title and in a way offer a surprise to people who might not have thought this summer she could do it. On Djokovic's side, there's a lot at stake here. If he wins another Grand Slam title, he is going to set a record for 25 wins. That would, of course, be unbelievable. He is also riding the high of the Olympics. And so there's a lot of pressure on him tonight and for the next 2 weeks. But again, this is the kind of tournament where people are expecting surprises. And over the last 10 or so years, we have not seen a man or a woman win back-to-back. So expect the unexpected.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it so exciting, right? So what are you hearing about security preparations, Antonia?
There have been a whole lot of those. The NYPD gave a presser earlier today talking about all of this. You know, there's, of course, always a ton of security here, but they've been talking about this sort of heightened level of risk because of really geopolitical and domestic factors over the last year. The possibility that there could be disruptions or protests or that somebody, a bad actor, could target Arthur Ashe Stadium. So there are drones that have been deployed, police dogs. There are, of course, a ton of law enforcement just physically here on the ground and all around this area of Queens. And they say there is no credible threat at this time, but they are going to be actively watching. And we've seen protests. There were protests at one of Coco Gauff's matches last year. And so that's the kind of thing officials are going to be monitoring every single day here, Christine.
All right, Antonia Hilton, getting to watch some tennis. Thanks so much, Antonia. That's a wrap for this hour. Coverage picks up right now. All right, we're coming on the air with an evacuation order in place in southern Alaska. Officials warning people to stay away from a deadly landslide that left homes destroyed and roads flooded. What first responders are doing now to make the area safe again. Plus, breaking news just before we came on the air, a new move tonight to reinstate the classified documents case against former President Trump, why it's unlikely to happen before the election. And why this week might actually be one of the hottest of the summer as new data shows heat-related deaths surging. Then a trial for a mega merger the FTC is fighting in court starting today, what it means for you and your wallet if that grocery deal goes through. And an exclusive conversation with the CEO of a company making the drugs that have changed how so many people are losing weight in tonight's original, what he's saying about high prices and drug shortages. Hey, I'm Christine in for Hallie, and tonight a city in Alaska is reeling from a deadly landslide local officials say is unlike anything they've ever seen, with concerns that a second one could hit the same area. Take a look at this. A phone pole knocked over onto cars, streets and homes flooded here. Some neighborhoods are without power. Crews trying to fix all this damage. You can see in these pictures released by officials where that landslide started. One person is dead, 3 others hurt, according to authorities. Local officials have issued a mandatory evacuation with officials warning people to stay away from the area as experts assess all this damage. Dana Griffin is following this one for us. Dana, officials say that slide area is still unstable. Any sense of when people there will be able to go back home?
Yeah, Christine, it sounds like it won't happen at least tonight because they have people in evacuation centers, people staying with friends and family, because right now they need state geologists to go in to assess that hillside to make sure that it is safe for people to go back home. But part of why they evacuated this area, not only where that initial slide happened, but also another one just south of that area, is because that hillside does not look stable. This is an area that has been inundated with a lot of rain recently, so they are concerned that another slide could happen in this exact area. So this happened Sunday around 4 p.m. One person was killed, 3 others sent to the hospital. The person that was killed, we know, was in a vehicle driving with another passenger when that hillside came down, impacting that main bypass where this slide came down. This town of Ketchikan is only 20 miles long and about 4 blocks wide. The mayor describing it kind of like a ribbon. And he said where this slide happened, it almost cut the town in half. And there's still about a quarter of the town that is still in jeopardy of another slide. So right now, it's unclear how long it will take for people to get back to their homes. Christine?
Dana, the governor of Alaska declared an emergency for the city, and local leaders also issued separate emergency declarations. How does that help with trying to get this community back on its feet now?
Well, it just allows federal aid to get there a lot sooner, and it frees up money so that they can get the work done to try to get people back in their homes and to get that area cleaned up. The governor is saying that he is allowing this to make resources available for this area, and they're going to need it because this is a major devastation for this town. It's not very big, and the roads that have been impacted are major thoroughfares for people who need to travel, whether they're going to work, school, businesses. So hopefully this money will get there and help. The mayor issuing a statement saying that he has never seen a slide of this magnitude in his 65 years of life. He says he heard it. It sounded like an earthquake. You can feel the ground moving. And although earthquakes are pretty common, or not earthquakes, landslides are pretty common in the Pacific Northwest, this is unlike anything he's ever seen, just to this magnitude. So they're going to try to figure out what happened and if there's anything they need to do to try to shore up that hillside so that this doesn't happen again. Christine?
Dana, thank you so much for that. Right now, tens of millions across the Midwest are very aware that summer isn't over as a dangerous heat wave envelops that area with heat index values of 110 and higher. Major cities like Minneapolis, Chicago, St. Louis are all in for some record highs. Schools in Philly are already planning on letting kids out early because of the heat. It comes as new data is showing that heat-related deaths in the U.S. have been climbing steadily, a 117% increase from 1999 to 2023. That's according to the medical journal JAMA, with more than 2,300 just in 2023 alone. And out in Hawaii, it's not the heat that's creating dangerous conditions. It's Tropical Storm Hone. Floodwaters rushing down the roads. Look at like this one. Amazing. The storm moved away from Hawaii's main islands this morning, with parts of the Big Island getting up to 25 inches of rain. Bill Cairns joining me now with the forecast. Bill, okay, how long is this record-setting heat gonna stick there over the Midwest?
The heat will last until the thunderstorms cool the region off. So that's kind of, you get the heat, the humidity, that's the energy, and then the cold front goes through and we get the big storm. So we have to get these storms through first. So we've already had some pretty big storms in the Northeast this evening, a lot of hail reported in New England. But tonight's kind of the main event with these areas of storms here from Sioux Falls to Minneapolis, Green Bay, Milwaukee. And this will go right during the overnight hour to the early morning. We could get to some strong areas of winds, maybe an isolated tornado. And then tomorrow, we have to cool off the Great Lakes. So the thunderstorms will come through. About 29 million people at risk, including Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, and Saginaw. And then finally, that cold front and the last hot day on the East Coast will be Wednesday. And that afternoon and evening, thunderstorms will possibly be severe. Now we're talking about a lot of travel headaches from Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, all the way through New York City into Philadelphia. About 49 million people included in that. Not so many tornadoes, but wind damage. And again, that's all just because it's so hot and it's so humid. And, eventually summer has to, fall will win out eventually. We've all noticed that earlier sunset. The cooler air is on its way. It just has to run into that hot air first, and that's when we get these storms. And it's blistering hot right now from Iowa all the way through Illinois into southern portions of Wisconsin. We are going to see temperatures, almost as warm as they've been all summer long in Chicago. So right now, it's 111 in Des Moines. Feels like 104 Chicago. The Quad Cities is right around 110 to about 109. And tomorrow, the hottest temperatures will be found in areas like Chicago, heat index 110. And for many areas, the saving grace is that this will be as hot as you'll be until next summer, likely. This is probably it for, these extreme temperatures. And the same will likely be said for the East Coast. We'll be near 100 all the way up that I-95 corridor from the Raleigh area, Richmond, Baltimore, D.C., and almost mid-90s into New York, Christine.
So you got, all right, extreme heat on one side of the country. Further east, there's all these storms. Any other storms you're keeping an eye on?
There's always, it seems like this summer there's always been something going on. We've been taking a look at what's going on with Hone. That's the one that brought us the epic flooding on the Big Island. And the Big Island's here, so we've been in the clear now for a while. All that's cleared up. We had some rain showers earlier today on Oahu, Honolulu, so that's good. But there's two other storms out there, Gilma and Hector. Gilma has a big eye to us. It's an impressive hurricane, but it's expected to weaken by the time it gets towards the islands. This is going to be Friday morning, so heading towards Labor Day weekend, just tracking north. Increased surf, maybe some rain showers, really shouldn't cause too many problems. And, of course, we all just saw what happened in Alaska with that landslide. Just for a geography lesson here, here's Anchorage, here's Juneau. Ketchikan's one of the southernmost cities in Alaska along the coast of British Columbia here. And they had about 2.5 inches of rain over the weekend. But they typically get 10 inches every August. So heavy rain events in this area, Christine, aren't unusual. It is unusual to get a landslide like that. And then, and of course, with more rain in the forecast, they're going to have to watch that second area too. But, I can't say that it's unusual what the weather was that caused that landslide. They always get a lot of wet weather.
It'll be interesting to see, in the aftermath, what they figure out was the trigger there. Bill, thank you so much. And breaking news out of Washington with an urgent plea to bring back the criminal classified documents case against former President Trump. Special counsel Jack Smith asking a federal appeals court today to reverse a lower court's decision to dismiss that case, the one charging the former president with mishandling classified documents. You remember back in July, Judge Eileen Cannon, in a stunning move, threw the case out on grounds that the special counsel's appointment violated the U.S. Constitution. Ken Delaney joins me now. Ken, this was widely seen by experts as one of the strongest cases brought against the former president. So what's Smith arguing in his appeal?
Yeah, Christine, and it's not just Smith, it's the entire Justice Department here arguing in no uncertain terms that Judge Eileen Cannon fundamentally misconstrued and misunderstood the law here, including a Supreme Court precedent and 4 separate statutes. We were looking through the ruling. They almost ran out of synonyms for wrong. They called her reasoning flawed, nonsensical. They said it lacked merit and it lacked common sense. And they're saying that it goes against decades of precedent here. No other judge has ever seen it this way because there have been these challenges before. Essentially, she ruled that Jack Smith was unconstitutionally appointed because he wasn't confirmed by the Senate. What they're saying is that that would apply to a lot of other different kinds of officials, including acting U.S. attorneys and even officials in the Defense Department and the Treasury Department and elsewhere. It fundamentally undermines the way the government does business. It's wrong, and they're asking the 11th Circuit Court in Atlanta to overturn this ruling. But, of course, that is not going to happen before the election. So, fundamentally, voters are going to decide before the courts do on this case.
Yeah. Is it surprising, Ken, that Smith didn't offered to, I guess, step down as special counsel if the case continues?
That's a fair question, but the answer is no, because for two reasons. One, Merrick Garland believes that this case is properly brought by a special counsel. That's why he appointed one. He doesn't think that the Justice Department under President Biden should be prosecuting his political opponent. He wanted some distance here. So they could have refiled this case easily with the U.S. Attorney in Miami. They decided not to. But secondly, there's a principle here. They're concerned about the broader implications of this ruling, which they think is bad law and needs to be squelched. So they are going through the appeals process. It may end up at the Supreme Court, but they think they're ultimately going to win. Christine.
All right, Ken, thanks so much. Tonight, a partial curfew goes into effect in a Massachusetts town to try and keep people inside and away from mosquitoes. Mosquitoes carrying a rare but deadly disease there. The town of Plymouth, just 40 miles south of Boston, announced it's closing its public parks after an 80-year-old man was diagnosed with Eastern equine encephalitis, also called triple E. And other towns across the state at, quote, critical risk are asking people to stay inside at night, starting at 6 p.m., stay inside. Just a few minutes ago, extending that until September 30th. You can catch it from a mosquito bite, and about a third of the people who catch it will die. Those who do survive are often permanently disabled. Let's bring in Rahima Ellis, who's in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Rahima, tell us about this disease, triple E, and why these towns are just so worried.
Christine, they're worried because look at the day we have here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. This is a tourist town. It's a gorgeous park. This is where people want to be at the end of the summer. They want to be out and frolicking and about. But guess what? Mosquitoes are out here, too. And that's why folks are saying there's some cautions that people need to pay attention to. Listen to what we heard from the person who is director, the commissioner of the health services here in this area. Take a listen. How concerned should people be?
People should be very concerned. While triple E is not a prevalent disease, it is not common, it is very serious. 30 to 70% fatality rate. Also, even those that survive, neurological disorders and many health complications can happen from triple E.
And we've got a full screen we want to show you about what are some of those symptoms that you have to be concerned about. They can include fever, headache, vomiting, seizures, and behavioral changes, neurological disease disruptions. No vaccine or specific treatment is available, but 30% of those infected, as you mentioned, she mentioned, they could die from this. Many survivors have permanent brain damage or neurological impairment. And so this is something, as she said, it's not common, it's rare, but it's very, very serious.
Rare, but very seriously. And Rahima, this isn't the only mosquito-borne disease on the rise right now, right?
That's right. There's also the West Nile disease, which also comes from an infected mosquito. It's far less deadly, but it has some symptoms that people have to really be concerned about. And one of those folks who was concerned about it is the former head of the NIH, and you know his name is Anthony Fauci. He was hospitalized last week with West Nile virus, and he's now resting at home. And we understand a woman in Texas just recently died from it. And experts are talking about how this disease is appearing earlier and earlier this year. We want to show you a full screen about this as well, because people are associating this with climate change, because now they're saying we're seeing that this mosquito infection is happening somewhere between the increase of it between 1979 and 2022, in part because we have more humidity. And my hair is one indication of that. That's why I've got on this hat. And the temperature is going from 50 to 95 degrees. And 71% of the United States sees an annual mosquito increase, and 16 days of it. So more mosquitoes, we have more water that's been around, and mosquitoes, these particular mosquitoes, like to breed in water. So that's one of the things that they tell people is to get rid of standing water around your home. Christine?
What are some of the other ways people can protect themselves from West Nile or triple E?
Well, one of the things you want to do is wear long sleeves, long pants. You might want to wear socks as well, because they like to bite around the ankles. In addition to that, they're saying you should use a mosquito repellent with a DEET in it, and avoid these kind of mosquitoes. Usually they are most active between the hours of dusk and dawn, but they can bite you at any time of the day. Christine?
All right. I think that the hat is smashing, even with such a serious story. Rahima, nice to see you. Thank you so much. All right, former President Trump is suggesting he may back out of his first debate with Vice President Harris. It's supposed to happen only a few weeks from now on ABC. Listen.
Well, I watched this weekend, and it's the worst of all networks. When I looked at the hostility of that, I said, why am I doing it? Let's do it with another network.
And there's a lot of debate around the debate rules. The Harris campaign says, they want mics on the whole time. The Trump campaign says that isn't what they agreed to. It happens as they all get ready for the final stretch to Election Day. Mr. Trump picking up another not so surprising endorsement today from former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard. And as Vice President Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, get ready to kick off a bus tour of Georgia. I want to bring in NBC's Vaughn Hilliard now. Vaughn, you've been covering Mr. Trump for quite some time now. What do you make of this? Is he riffing here? Is he trying to change the rules? What's happening?
Well, if you start at the beginning of this year, it was him, the one that was saying anytime, anywhere. Of course, his opponent at the time was Joe Biden, and he got a very early debate in June. And as he says, he had a knockout blow right from the get-go. And now he and his advisors are saying that Kamala Harris is wanting to change the rules from what they were back in June when he debated Joe Biden. I want to let you listen, though. Our colleague, a wonderful embed on the Trump campaign, Jake Traylor, asked him about potentially opening up the microphone so there's no mute button like there was in June. Take a listen to his response.
We agreed to the same rules and same specifications. And I think that's probably what it should be. But they're trying to change it. The truth is they're trying to get out of it because she doesn't want to debate.
September 10th, 2 weeks from now, is when that debate is scheduled. And this would be a very key moment. And let's also be very clear. This is why typically we have the Presidential Debate Commission, where we always have those three debates. But because both sides agreed to scrap the commission, it's left up to the campaigns with the news organization networks to come up with the rules in real time.
Really, all of it's so unprecedented. It's so interesting. All right. Why is Vice President Harris focusing on Georgia for this bus tour?
This is a battleground map that has suddenly opened up. It's not just like, Ohio and Florida and Pennsylvania. You're looking at North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia. And Kamala Harris is a different candidate than Joe Biden was. And they believe that they really have the opportunity, like Joe Biden did in 2020, to win the state of Georgia. And that is why you see them going and not only putting their own time, human time, but also campaign advertising on the ground. And also, we're less than a month away before early voting begins in many of these states. And when you look at battleground polling, right now, the Harris campaign, they're within the margin of error in Georgia. And they're seeing a map where it's worth playing everywhere because they just have to pick up a few of the states. So why not put energy into Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, North Carolina, and hopefully you can connect enough electoral votes to hit 270.
I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of ads. They've raised a ton of money, but being out on the ground in Georgia must be something that they're really investing in then.
Absolutely. And look, they announced raising in the 1 month that Kamala Harris has formally been the Democratic nominee, more than $540 million. They came into this month already with more money in the bank than the Trump campaign. And so we don't know how much the Trump campaign has raised, but we have very little reason to believe they have raised anywhere close to that amount of money. And so this allows them to put a lot more money towards airtime, but also if they want to hire more staffers on the ground here. And so there is a lot, but we are down to just 2 months before this election. So at this point in time, it's not just money, but it's also the candidate. And that's why that debate 2 weeks from now is going to be so key, because for folks that didn't watch the Democratic National Convention, that debate will be the first time for a lot of folks really, truly getting to hear her go one-on-one, mano-a-mano with Donald Trump.
All right. Vaughn Hilliard, who will not sleep for the next 2 months.
Thank you, my friend.
Nice to see you. All right, attorneys for former Illinois Deputy Sean Grayson say they will fight a judge's decision to keep him behind bars while he waits to go on trial for the murder of Sonia Massey. Today, Grayson appeared virtually for his first pre-trial hearing. Remember, he was charged in July after police body camera captured the moments before he fatally shot Massey, a black mother of two. He was responding to her 911 call. Grayson has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Maggie Vespa has more.
Christine, former Illinois Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson remains behind bars ahead of his first-degree murder trial, and the start date of that trial is TBD. So right now, his defense team is trying/appealing to get him out of jail. They talked about that briefly inside the courthouse today, telling the judge they assume he's aware of their appeal to a higher court, their appeal of that decision. Then they kind of moved on to two motions that were more substantive today, with Grayson appearing via Zoom with his defense attorney. Number one, the defense filed a motion tied to media coverage of the case, so presumably wanting some kind of limits or controls on cameras in court, things like that. We'll see where that goes. Number two, they asked for more time, frankly, to review and just kind of sift through discovery in the case. The judge granted the discovery motion and continued the media motion until the next court date, which is October 21st at 9 a.m. We should note, Sonia Massey's family, the 36-year-old mother of two who was killed in her own home, caught on body camera video by Deputy Grayson back in July. Her family was sitting in that courtroom. We're talking dozens of people. They've been telling us they want to come to every single hearing, every single court date, no matter how procedural it may seem, to support Sonia, and they say speak for her. I talked to her cousin after this hearing and kind of on her own. I just said, how are you doing at this point in the process? On her own, she brought up that appeal by Grayson's team to get him out of jail. Here's what she said.
I couldn't even believe that he would even think that it was okay to even ask that. Are you serious? You want out for what? And all you had to do was just leave her door after you seen there was no problem, and you did it. He wanted to know her name. He wanted to walk into her home. You know, why?
One other thing we talked about was the sheriff of Sangamon County, Jack Campbell, stepping down in the wake of this about a month after Sonia Massey was shot and killed. Sonia's cousin telling me that actually made her angry that it took an entire month. Christine?
All right, Maggie Vespa, thanks so much. Officials in Ukraine are assessing the damage after a massive aerial attack from Russian forces earlier today. Air raid sirens sent people running for bomb shelters this morning as Russia launched some 200 missiles and drones into Ukraine's biggest cities, killing 3 people, damaging energy infrastructure. It comes after a missile fired over the weekend hit a hotel, killing a safety advisor and injuring 2 journalists, all of them working for the Reuters news agency. It's not yet clear if the hotel was intentionally targeted. Erin McLaughlin has more.
Hey, Christine, it appears that Ukraine's air defense systems were working overtime today in the face of this large-scale Russian missile attack, one of the largest of the war. According to Ukrainian officials tonight, they managed to down 102 of 127 Russian missiles fired and 99 of 109 Russian drones. Now, nevertheless, some of those missiles, some of those drones causing damage in total, killing 4 civilians and injuring 19. Civilian energy structure was hit badly in some places. I was just speaking to a Kyiv city official, and he was telling me that one of the missiles struck a substation on the main dam in the Kyiv region, leading to rolling blackouts in the capital, rolling blackouts in other cities across the country as well. 15 regions hit in total. This attack unfolded at 8 o'clock in the morning. Our team woke up to the sounds of explosions, immediately went to the bomb shelter, as did millions of Ukrainians. Metro stations once again doubling as those bomb shelters. But what was really interesting is that soon as those air alerts were lifted, life returned to normal pretty quickly. It's just an illustration of just how much this war has become a part of everyday life here in Ukraine. Christine?
All right, Erin McLaughlin, thank you so much. Sean Diddy Combs tonight fighting to dismiss a lawsuit that was filed against him by a former employee, saying that lawsuit is an attempt to use salacious allegations to pressure Diddy into a settlement. That lawsuit, filed in February, alleges that Combs sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened music producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who worked for Combs from September 2022 to November 2023. In a statement, a lawyer for Combs says the lawsuit is, quote, pure fiction, a shameless attempt to create media hype and extract a quick settlement. Chloe Malas is joining us now. Chloe, walk us through this. We know one of the complaints in today's filing is that the allegations in the Lil Rod suit are vague. What else do we know?
Hey there, Christine. Sean Diddy Combs' legal team filing this, multi-page motion to dismiss. And now this is the 5th motion to dismiss against civil cases over the last couple months. But this is significant. Little Rod is somebody who worked with Sean Diddy Combs. He's a music producer on Combs' last album, the Love album. He's seeking $30 million in damages. And like you said, he claims that during the course of about a year when he worked, or a little bit less than a year when he worked with Combs on this album, that he was drugged, that he would wake up places where he didn't know how he got there, in bed with other people. And then in an amended complaint in March, Little Rod's legal team claiming that Sean Diddy Combs was actually part of a RICO enterprise. And you just read a statement from Combs' legal team saying that this is a salacious attempt with name dropping, and they just really go hard, denying all of the accusations again that Diddy had previously denied, and they're fighting back against this today.
And Chloe, what about this attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, who represents Little Rod? He's been on the receiving end of some criticism by a judge himself. How does that piece fit into this puzzle?
So in Combs' motion to dismiss today filed by his attorneys, they make reference to Tyrone Blackburn being criticized for other cases that he had filed, and that he was even reported to the grievance committee in New York. Now, that is something that Tyrone Blackburn has repeatedly denied to NBC News, and we have actually inquired looking into this. But basically, Combs' legal team is saying that Tyrone Blackburn, that he files all sorts of lawsuits all the time without doing his homework, and that this is salacious, and that this is basically a money grab, and that they intend to fight this. They're not going to settle. They're not going to settle this. They're not going to settle any of the other civil suits against Combs, and they're really going after Tyrone Blackburn. But again, we just spoke to him moments ago at NBC News, and he just says that all of that is just simply not true.
All right, Chloe Malas, nice to see you. Thanks so much. Go for the first ever civilian spacewalk, our report from outside the launch pad, and a toxic chemical found in a brand of apple juice, what you need to know in the 5 things. A gift for the National Park Service has it rolling in the dough, what they're going to do with $100 million cash in the 5 things. But first, SpaceX is counting down the hours until the launch of a historic space flight featuring a crew made up entirely of private citizens. This mission, dubbed Polaris Dawn, is scheduled to lift off overnight. It's going to include the first ever spacewalk by a commercial crew. It comes after NASA tapped SpaceX to bring home 2 astronauts who've been stuck in space after that 8-day Boeing mission turned into a heck of a lot more. NBC's Marissa Parra has more on both of the high-stakes missions.
Hey, Christine, a busy week in space news. I want to start first with that major announcement from NASA over the weekend about Boeing Starliner. Those 2 astronauts who've been stranded for several months. Well, now their week-long mission is going to be roughly 9 months. They're going to hitch a ride with SpaceX on the way down. In short, NASA saying it was not worth the risk. The risk being those thrusters. They were not certain enough and trusting enough in those thrusters that have been analyzed and looked at over the last several months. So Boeing Starliner will return without the crew. Butch and Sunny will return with the SpaceX previously scheduled mission with Crew 9. That's going to be roughly February. Now, what is happening tomorrow, also said to be historic with SpaceX? This is the Polaris Dawn mission. Now, we're going to see a couple of things. We're going to see a higher orbit than we have seen in over 50 years for these astronauts, all civilians. And we're going to see something really incredible with this spacewalk. I'll tell you a little bit more about it tomorrow, but this spacewalk essentially is going to expose all of them to the vacuum of space. 2 of them will perform it, and this is going to be something that has them relying on their spacesuits essentially as a spaceship. We spoke to former shuttle commander Eileen Collins on this ambitious move, how it's also a very risky one.
When you go outside, you are exposing yourself to some small orbital debris, like little pieces of dust that go zinging around, and also the fact that they will be getting more radiation.
Now, if you are a big space nerd like me, I hope you like mornings, because right now this is scheduled for 3:38 in the morning. Now, there is an extensive launch window, so if there's any weather issues, this is not like a lot of launches we see. There is a chance it could slide, but either way, they're really hoping for tomorrow, which would mean that Spacewalk would potentially happen on Thursday. So we'll be right here tomorrow to let you know how it all goes, Christine.
Marissa Parr, can't wait. Thanks so much. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, today people are mourning a high school football player at a memorial service in Alabama after he was hurt in a game a couple of days ago. He later died. We don't know exactly what happened. A GoFundMe page to cover funeral costs called it a, quote, traumatic brain injury. His death putting a spotlight on the dangers of football after a number of other high school football players died over the last few years. Number 2, the brother of a Boston police officer is suing Karen Reed and 2 bars in Massachusetts for wrongful death. You remember Reed's accused of running into her boyfriend, police officer, with her car and then leaving him dead in a snowstorm. Her trial is set for January after her last one ended in a mistrial. Number 3, a woman is dead after the first day of this year's Burning Man festival in Nevada. Officials say they got a report of an unresponsive individual and that life-saving measures were attempted but were unsuccessful. The Burning Man Project telling NBC News, quote, our thoughts and condolences go out to the family and friends affected by this loss. The death is under investigation. Number 4, Walmart's recalling apple juice sold in 25 states because of unsafe levels of arsenic. It was sold under Walmart's Great Value brand. Overexposure to that kind of arsenic can cause cancer and birth defects. A Walmart spokesperson says they're working with the supplier to investigate the source of the toxin. Number 5, the national parks are getting a record high $100 million grant that the National Park Foundation is calling transformative. We don't know exactly where the money is going to go just yet, but one of their top priorities is restoring coral reefs at Biscayne National Park in Florida. Another goal? Helping young people visit the parks. Now to a major legal showdown between some of the biggest grocery chains in the country and the FTC that could change how you shop in a big way. You have Albertsons and Kroger today in court with federal regulators out in Oregon for a trial that's expected to last about 2 weeks. The two companies want to merge into a huge $24.6 billion deal. They say it's so they can better compete with big rivals like Amazon, Costco, and Walmart. But the FTC says, no, you can't do that because it would actually eliminate competition and raise the prices of groceries at a time when people are already paying a lot as it is because of inflation. 8 states plus the District of Columbia are joining the lawsuit against the two grocery chains. Adrian Broaddus is joining me now for more on this. Adrian, talk about the stakes here. This has the potential to have ripple effects, not just on customers, you know, what you pay and where you shop, but on the people who work at the stores, too.
For sure, the stakes are high. We're talking about prices, jobs, and access. When you take a look at the folks who work at the stores, what does this mean for them? Because when you take a step back, think about it. These two companies coming together, combined, you're looking at nearly 700,000 employees across the U.S. And some are arguing that if this merger goes through, it will lose the competitive advantage. So does that mean the employees will not have the same wages? Will their benefits package be different? There's a lot at stake for them. And as far as prices, on the other side of the coin, the government is arguing that the prices for the consumer will go up and the quality of the products that they need will go down. So both sides have something to lose or something at risk, not to mention, Christine, the time, the money, and the energy this is taking for everybody.
Absolutely. Now, the FTC is taking a very different position today than it did back in 2015. That's when the government approved the merger of Albertsons and Safeway. So why is that? What is the context here?
Well, if you take a look back at 2015, since then, there have been big concerns about past mergers. The FTC doesn't want any backlash, especially when it comes to the consumer. That merger was $9.2 billion, and it was approved in January of 2015. But they didn't get the green light without any conditions. They had to sell more than 150 stores. You see it on your screen there. They sold 168. And now we are looking at the potential of the largest proposed grocery store merger in U.S. history. Kroger, the second largest grocery store, and Albertson, the fourth largest grocery store. Now, There's something going to happen over the next 2 weeks. Both sides are going to make their case. The grocery store chains are arguing if they combine forces, this will be better for everyone. And they also say it's going to make them more competitive, make them able to compete with giants like Walmart and Amazon. But by contrast, the FTC is arguing, no, this will not be good for the consumer. The FTC is saying that the prices will go up and the quality will go down. This is only the first step in what will likely be a long legal battle, Christine.
Yeah, and I remember that 2015 Albertsons Safeway merger. They promised to sell all those stores. The buyer of those stores then later went bankrupt. Albertsons then came in and bought them back and then sold or closed some of them. So that's one of the reasons why regulators are concerned here today as well. Adrian, thank you so much. Coming up, Italian police could bring criminal charges after that deadly yacht sinking. The new details we're just learning. Plus, the founder of popular messaging app Telegram sitting right now in a French jail. The very serious charges against him. NBC covers hundreds of international stories every day. And because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our teams around the world have done it for you. Here's a look at what they're watching in a segment we call The Global. From Pakistan, more than 70 people are dead after separatist militants attacked a province in Pakistan. The group ambushed police stations, railway lines, highways. It comes as several ethnic insurgent groups are battling Pakistan's central government, saying it unfairly exploits gas and mineral resources in an area where poverty is widespread. Pakistan's prime minister says security forces will retaliate and hold those responsible accountable. Out of Italy, the captain of the yacht that sank off the Italian coast, now under investigation for multiple manslaughter and shipwreck charges. Remember, 7 people died, 15 others managed to escape after the yacht got hit by a tornado. A prosecutor says, quote, behaviors that were not perfectly in order may have been behind the deaths. Prosecutors talked to the captain twice in the past week, with a source telling NBC News he will be questioned again tomorrow. And from Bangladesh, at least 20 people are dead and more than 5 million impacted by major flooding in the country. You can see people wading through murky water up to their neck. Many now in urgent need of food, water, and medicine. The floods caused by heavy monsoon rains and overflowing rivers. We're getting new details today on the arrest of the billionaire founder of messaging app Telegram by authorities in France. Police say his arrest is part of a broader investigation into child pornography on the Telegram app. Russian-born Pavel Durov was put in handcuffs after stepping off a plane in Paris on Saturday, causing an uproar from people who say the arrest is politically motivated. People like Elon Musk, Edward Snowden, the media in Russia, that's where the app is hugely popular. Let's bring in David Ingram, who's been following all of this for us. Telegram has come under fire for use by criminals, for use by extremists, its role in major conflicts and political events. What makes Telegram different from, say, WhatsApp, and why does that matter in this case?
Well, there are a few things that set Telegram apart from better-known apps in the U.S. like WhatsApp. One is the ability to have very large channels where potentially hundreds of thousands of people can interact with the same content. You don't find that on WhatsApp. You can find it maybe on Facebook or some other apps. The other big difference with Telegram is its relationship with law enforcement, and that's what relates to the news today of the arrest of the CEO. So Telegram, unlike WhatsApp, for example, does not have a firm working relationship with law enforcement, even on some of the worst crimes that we generally think of, including child sexual abuse of minors. And there have been statements today from nonprofit organizations and others saying that they have tried to work with Telegram to stop the spread, for example, of child abuse material. And Telegram has largely ignored their responses. So I think what we're looking at here, and the word that pops out from the statement from French prosecutors, is the word they used was complicity, that they think that the platform here was potentially complicit in a whole series of online activities, including the spread of child sexual abuse material, and didn't really do much to stop it or to respond to law enforcement requests.
So, sounds straightforward. Why would some people be calling this arrest some kind of a political move?
Well, so some of the sort of light touch moderation, the sort of allow users to do whatever they want, that same policy that attracts potential criminals and others also does attract people whose views are so extreme that they've been kicked off other platforms, including Instagram or X or YouTube, for example. So those people have flocked to Telegram, and they see it as a valuable free speech platform. It's also closely aligned with Russia, very popular in Russia, and people who sympathize with the Russian government find it to be a welcoming place to talk about their views. Now, French President Emmanuel Macron today addressed some of this some of these accusations. He posted on X saying that this is part of an ongoing judicial investigation trying to tamp down some of the criticism. So, Christine, we'll see how this plays out and what the French prosecutors want to do with the CEO.
Yeah, I'm sure we haven't heard the last of this. David Ingram, thank you so much. Coming up in tonight's original, our exclusive interview with the CEO behind Ozempic and Wegovy, why he says prices are so high. To tonight's original now, with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, it's about the popular weight loss drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy. Our Megan Fitzgerald sits down exclusively with the CEO of Novo Nordisk, the company that makes both of those, and asks about the sky-high cost of the drugs and limited supply.
Just an hour away from the bustling bike lanes of Copenhagen sits a factory so big you need a car to get around. Blockbuster weight loss drug Wegovy and diabetes drug Ozempic, produced here by Danish pharmaceutical giant Novo Nordisk. A state-of-the-art facility churning out these pens while robots shuffle them to the next phase of the process. The facility is one of a few producing the medicines worldwide.
Because the popularity of these drugs have exploded, Novo Nordisk has increased production, making millions of pens in facilities like this one that are operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
But that's still not enough. Across the world, and even in the U.S., warnings that doses of Wegovy are in limited supply.
We have, to some degree, been overwhelmed by demand. I guess there can be different
It's a problem CEO Lars Fjørgaard Jorgensen says they're tackling.
We are investing significantly in ramping up capacity. We have just recently announced more than $4 billion investment in North Carolina to do full finish of these exact products. So we see a constant ramp up of manufacturing. But it's also fair to say that we are still in the beginning.
Jorgensen spoke to us in Novo Nordisk Copenhagen headquarters before the company's quiet period ahead of their last earnings.
How do you describe what your company is producing?
I think this is a really exciting moment in the company's history, because we have spent around 30 years in doing research and development. We now see a very strong set of clinical data that we are helping people living with type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, and potential number of comorbidities.
But while Wegovy has reshaped weight loss worldwide, it comes at a cost, and one many Americans can't afford.
The list price for Wegovy in the United States, $1,349. In the UK, it's $92. In Germany, it's $140. Why is Novo Nordisk price discriminating between markets?
In markets where there's reimbursement, patients pay nothing or very small co-payments. We work a lot with insurance companies, payers in getting reimbursement, but it's much different from country to country how that system works. But I do acknowledge that some patients have poor insurance, and if you have poor insurance, it can be difficult to afford your medicines.
Novo Nordisk says while the list price for Wegovy in the U.S. is higher, and that half of commercial insurance providers cover Wegovy, the vast majority of those insurance customers pay less than $25 a dose. But Medicare is prohibited from covering the drug for obesity because it's considered a lifestyle medication, and other providers say they can't afford to cover it.
The treasurer of North Carolina went as far as to accuse Novo Nordisk of operating like a drug cartel. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I think that's unfounded. And I would actually say I think we need a discussion around what's the value of these medicines. And if you look at just the cost of obesity in the U.S., it's a disease that costs Americans more than $400 billion a year. And we are actually providing products that's actually helping taking that cost burden off.
For those who have used it, the drugs have been life-changing. What's unclear at this early stage is how effective it will be long-term, with many regaining weight once they stop the drug.
We're talking about millions of patients, and we'll learn that there'll probably be different grouping of patients. Some will have obesity that takes really efficacious treatment for life because it's, an aggressive form of obesity. But you'll also probably find that there are patients who, after a period of treatment, change in lifestyle, can actually do without medicine.
The treatment requiring weekly shots can be cumbersome. The next hurdle, creating a pill.
So we already have the diabetes indication in a pill form. So there might one day be also in obesity, pill form versions of this. So that's truly exciting.
And they're testing the drugs to see if they help with Alzheimer's and kidney disease.
We think that this is the start of another really exciting period with great science coming to patients.
A company and a drug that's changing the shape of medicine.
Megan Fitzgerald joins me now. Megan, the Novo Nordisk CEO is scheduled to testify in a Senate committee hearing next month about the high U.S. prices. Did he give you any insight into what he'll say?
Well, Christine, it's a good question. In fact, we asked that direct question to Jorgensen, and he says that he, in fact, volunteered to testify before the Senate committee. And he also says that he plans to talk about the sheer complexity. Apologies if you can hear in the background here. But he says he plans on talking about the sheer complexity of the U.S. healthcare system and how it would likely take policy to change it, and how his company, he says, is doing everything they can to try and make sure that the medication is accessible to as many people as possible.
Right, Megan Fitzgerald, thank you so much. Great reporting. Coming up, why the start of the U.S. Open may also be a start of a whole new era for tennis. We'll take you to the tournament's kickoff next. All right, an exciting day for tennis fans. The U.S. Open kicking off right here in New York City. Fresh off the Olympics, the world's top players are facing off in their final chance to snag a major title this year. Reigning champions Coco Gauff and Novak Djokovic are both looking to defend their titles and hold off some newer names. Let's get to Antonia Hilton out at the U.S. Open for us. Antonia, there's talk about this new guard taking over tennis. Who are the young bloods to watch this year?
Hey, Christine. Well, there's a number of them. On the women's side, you have Coco Gauff, of course, as you mentioned, defending her title. You have Sabalenka, Swiatek, a number of others. On the men's side, Djokovic, Sinner, Alcaraz. And, Djokovic is coming out of the Olympics and has a lot of energy and excitement around him. But here's the thing that's really special about the U.S. Open. Because it comes at the end of the season, it means that a lot of players are exhausted. They have played at the Olympics. They've traveled all over the world recently, and by the time they get here, it kind of creates this unpredictable environment that makes it possible for stars to rise, for there to be breakouts and surprises. And I just got to watch Taylor Townsend play, for example. She just won her first match, and the energy in that very packed stadium was really palpable. People cheering for her, and you could just see there was so much excitement. New tennis fans in that space as well, and so that's the kind of thing people look out for here. Someone to rise to the top that nobody, frankly, expected to do it. Christine.
Last year's women's champ Coco Gauff hit the court today, beating her opponent, and then men's champ Novak Djokovic plays later tonight. How are they looking coming into the tournament?
So in the days leading up to all of this, there was talk around Coco Gauff because she is, defending her title, but also she had a tough time at the Olympics. It was really emotional. She was not able to medal there, and she's had a little bit of a rough patch this summer more broadly at other matches. So you could feel in Arthur Ashe Stadium, which is right behind me here, that as she played this afternoon, our team got to watch. There were nerves. People were a little worried about how she would do, but then she played really well and, of course, won. And so, she has made clear that she's here to, fight for her title and in a way offer a surprise to people who might not have thought this summer she could do it. On Djokovic's side, there's a lot at stake here. If he wins another Grand Slam title, he is going to set a record for 25 wins. That would, of course, be unbelievable. He is also riding the high of the Olympics, and so there's a lot of pressure on him tonight and for the next 2 weeks. But again, this is the kind of tournament where people are expecting surprises. And over the last 10 or so years, we have not seen a man or a woman win back-to-back. So expect the unexpected.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it so exciting, right? So what are you hearing about security preparations, Antonia?
There have been a whole lot of those. The NYPD gave a presser earlier today talking about all of this. There's, of course, always a ton of security here, but they've been talking about this sort of heightened level of risk because of really geopolitical and domestic factors over the last year. The possibility that there could be disruptions or protests, or that somebody, a bad actor, could target Arthur Ashe Stadium. So there are drones that have been deployed, police dogs. There are, of course, a ton of law enforcement just physically here on the ground and all around this area of Queens. And they say there is no credible threat at this time, but they are going to be actively watching. And we've seen protests. There were protests at one of Coco Gauff's matches last year. And so that's the kind of thing officials are going to be monitoring every single day here, Christine.
All right, Antonia Hilton, getting to watch some tennis. Thanks so much, Antonia. That's a wrap for this hour. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.